Iraq's sitting on trillions in oil and gas wealth, the broken bar, yet the dinar is still stuck at 1,300 to the dollar? That doesn't add up. But what if I told you some sources still expect a rate of $3.80 to $4? Let's break down what's really going on. Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar Updates, where we break down the facts, the rumors, and the possibilities surrounding Iraq's currency and economic future. Today I want to talk about something that's been on everyone's mind, something that seems to stay frozen in place despite years of speculation, reforms, and rising expectations. That's the Iraqi dinar exchange rate. Yes, we're still here, still seeing the same numbers. The official rate hasn't changed yet. It's holding at around 1,300 dinars to $1, and many are wondering, why? And for how much longer? Let's get something straight right away. This 1,300 number has been frustrating for a long time. A lot of people, both inside and outside Iraq, were expecting some kind of movement by now. Some were even anticipating a revaluation months or even years ago. The logic behind those expectations made sense. Iraq is an oil-rich country, with massive untapped potential, growing foreign reserves, stronger banking reform, and increasing transparency in its financial sector. It's a country with more money flowing in than ever before, and yet the exchange rate hasn't budged in any meaningful way. Still, as of now, 1,300 remains the official figure. It's not the street rate, not the black market number, not the rumor of the week, it's the number that's being officially recognized by the Central Bank of Iraq. This figure remains in place despite the billions of dollars Iraq earns annually through oil exports. And not just oil, let's not forget about taxes, tariffs, trade deals, and new development projects generating more revenue. These are not the economic conditions of a nation that should be stuck with the weak and undervalued currency. Now, I want to be clear, this doesn't mean change isn't coming. In fact, many of my sources, some of whom have years of experience in financial analysis, government policy, and Middle East economics, still firmly believe that a major shift is on the way. And no, I'm not talking about the small bump. I'm talking about the significant revaluation. Most of them predict that when the time is right, we could see a rate somewhere between $3.80 and $4.00 per Iraqi dinar. Yes, you heard that correctly. That's a complete reversal of today's exchange rate, and it would mean Iraq stepping fully into the strength of its economy. For some people, that might sound too good to be true. But let's think about it for a moment. If Iraq has the oil reserves of one of the wealthiest nations on earth, if it has the natural gas potential to match, and is actively developing international trade partnerships, why shouldn't its currency reflect that value? Let's look at a few examples. Countries with similar levels of oil production and exports, places like Kuwait or the United Arab Emirates, have currencies that are worth far more than the US dollar. Their economies are smaller in terms of population, but the value of their resources has allowed their currencies to soar. Kuwait's dinar, for instance, is currently the most valuable currency in the world, and it's backed by oil wealth and a stable financial system. Iraq isn't that far off, economically speaking. The difference lies in political stability, perception, and the structure of the financial system. So, if Iraq can continue improving its governance, fighting corruption, stabilizing its banking operations, and building trust with international markets, then it's absolutely within the realm of possibility that the Iraqi dinar could rise to a level where it's equal to or even stronger than the US dollar. That $3.80 to $4 range might sound bold, but when you factor in Iraq's economic fundamentals, it starts to look more like a question of when, not if. But here's the catch: timing. Timing is everything. This isn't just a financial equation, it's political, it's strategic, and it's tied to regional stability. The Central Bank of Iraq can't just change the rate overnight. there are global implications, internal pressures, and the need for cautious implementation. You can't jump from 1300 to 1 overnight without shocking the system. It would need to be carefully planned, gradually phased in, and properly managed to avoid inflation, trade imbalance, or market panic. That's why, despite the optimism from credible sources, we haven't seen it happen yet. There are still moving parts. Iraq is still navigating its relationship with the US dollar. It's still wrestling with dollar dependency in trade, in banking, and even in daily life. Even now, many businesses and individuals prefer to hold or use US dollars because they view it as more stable than the dinar. That mindset doesn't shift easily. For a successful revaluation to happen, Iraq needs to build confidence in its own currency. The government is already working on it. We've seen digital payment systems being introduced. We've heard about tightening the auction process for US dollars. We've watched reforms being pushed, especially in how financial institutions are being regulated and monitored. These may seem like small steps, but they're the foundation for a much larger shift in monetary policy. And of course, there's always the issue of misinformation. In the dinar community, there's no shortage of hype, rumor, or wild speculation. Some say it's going to happen next week, others say next year, and some say never. That's why I always encourage people to stay grounded. Don't fall for sensationalism. Instead, watch what's actually happening. Follow the real reforms. Pay attention to what the central bank is doing, not just what people are saying. Look at budget announcements, foreign reserve reports, and trade balances. Those are the real indicators of movement and not just social media noise. One thing I do know is that Iraq is headed in a better direction than it was a decade ago. That's undeniable. The country is more stable, its finances are stronger, and there is growing global interest in investing there. Major companies, nations, and regional players are watching Iraq closely, because they know that as things continue to improve, the value of its economy and yes, its currency will eventually follow. So to everyone asking, when will the rate change? I can only say this, not yet. But don't mistake that for failure. Sometimes the most powerful changes happen slowly at first, then all at once. The groundwork is being laid. The vision is there. And the belief in a higher rate at $3.80, $4, or something closer isn't just fantasy. It's based on Iraq's real potential. My sources haven't wavered. They still see it coming. And that tells me we're not at the end, we're somewhere in the middle of a longer story that's still unfolding. As always, I encourage you to stay informed, stay realistic, and most importantly, stay patient. The dinar story isn't over. In fact, it might just be getting started. Thanks for watching Iraqi Dinar Updates. If you found this video helpful or thought-provoking, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss future updates. I'll be back soon with more insight, more research, and more clarity on what's happening with Iraq's economy and where the dinar may be headed next. Until then, stay sharp, stay grounded, and never stop asking the important questions.